The phone rings in my office. I picked up. The sales VP asked me to come to his office as our Japanese partners arrived to greet them. I was not prepared. I was in jeans, I had a t-shirt, because we had to install a lot of computers for the new shops today. Anyway, I went down. Our Japanese partner, who brought a translator with him, a woman, was standing there, and I greeted him in the European way. The translator translated, and of course, as a European, I looked into her eyes. You know what? That's not done. Let's say I completely messed up the first impression, to put it in a nicely way. To fix this, the day after, I went back, wearing a suit, and followed the Japanese politeness rules. The Japanese partner just replied politely, "Nice to meet you." That was it. They signed a small deal for the next fashion season, and they left back to Japan. To put this in the right perspective, I was head of IT worldwide for a fashion company during the day, and during the night I did public relations, and the Japanese partner was interested in our kids' fashion line. The Japanese partner was the CEO. Let's call him Haruto. This story happened around 20 years ago. I can talk about it now, but I will not reveal the names. People who know me know about who I am, who I'm talking about, and that's enough that the story is real. Let's continue. 6 months later, the Japanese delegation, including Mr. Haruto, came back, signing a new deal for the next season. But this time, I prepared. I knew when they arrived, I knew the rules. We're going to make a bigger deal this time. And yes, this time all went fine. Mr. Haruto talked in Japanese, the translator translated for us in English, and we kept eye contact with Mr. Haruto. Perfect. At the same time, we had a supplier from India. Let's call him Mr. Ranbir. Ranbir is a businessman who came to us one day before we have to pay, every time. He came to us to make sure we paid. He came to visit us and wanted to enjoy mussels as well, because the story happens in Brussels. Our CEO could make it. The vice president of sales could make it. I was the only one who had to take both customer and supplier out for a dinner to enjoy mussels. The VP of sales and our CEO told me to talk about everything except business. Or Mr. Ranbir would sell directly to Mr. Haruto. Easier said than done. A whole table of business people not talking about business, and as you can expect, they started to talk business. I needed to change the subject fast. First about easy, simple topics, but every time Mr. Ranbir and Mr. Haruto switches to business, I had no other choice than going some more explicit, some more non-political correct matters. So I asked about tattoos. Haruto secondhand told me that tattoos in Japan are related to specific cultural groups. And Mr. Ranbir said to me that tattoos in India are often related to religion. Myself, I explained tattoos in Europe is more about fashion and expression of the individual. So after 10 minutes talking about the culture and the religious part of tattoos, Mr. Haruto put his hand around my shoulder. He started to speak English to me, saying, "I like you, I observed you, and you came here with us while others don't want to join us." And then he told that his friends and partners have the jacket tattoo, the typical tattoo of the Yakuza. I remember it very well. The only thing I could reply was, "You speak English?" He laughed and bowed his head. The evening came to an end. We did a new deal, and Mr. Haruto left to Japan, Mr. Ranbir to to India, and I was happy as both didn't have the chance to make a deal between them. Our company kept the two contracts. 6 months passed, and Mr. Haruto wanted to come back to make a bigger deal. In fashion, the seasons are every 6 months. But this time we invited the Japanese delegation to our office in Paris. The game was the same. They talk Japanese, we use a translator, and I took them out for a dinner at Buddha Bar. That night, it went crazy. We have spent around 20,000 euros. We were with 14 people. Still, a lot of money. The result was less crazy. We couldn't get up on time to do the presentation before Mr. Haruto and his team had to take the plane back to Japan, and we still had to sign the contract for 1 million euros this time. You can imagine my team was not happy at all, but what happened next was a lesson for my team and myself about doing business. It's all about trust. After an open talk about the Yakuza with Mr. Haruto at the restaurant, it became clear he was a top member. His tattoos and the offer he made to me. The proposal went as far as that Mr. Haruto wanted me to work for them, staying at his son's room, and the son had to move out to the aunt, and some other interesting proposals. It seems like I got one of the highest respect possible as a non-Japanese person. The trust was created. Mr. Haruto didn't see the presentation. He signed a blank contract and asked me to fill in and send it to him. Remember, the contract was for 1 million euro, and I changed the numbers to 1.5 million euro. The day after, Mr. Haruto called me and told me he was right about me, that, in his words, I have guts to upgrade the contract, and he told me the money is on its way. That season, we got the money, and they got the merchandise. However, it was the last season we worked together. I never heard about Mr. Haruto again. And no, I didn't accept his offer to work for the Yakuza in Japan. What I learned was to create respect is the base of doing business. Trust is what makes you sign contracts. And yes, doing deals with the mafia is not done. But in that time it was expected, as most of the brands didn't know they did business with the mafia. That was a little story of my previous life in the fashion industry. I hope you enjoyed it, and more crazy stories, what's happening behind the scenes, will come soon. So don't forget to subscribe and enjoy listening. See you next time.